Has she got red in her ledger? That's up for you to decide because your geek history lesson on Black Widow Yelena Belova is now in session. Hello and welcome to Geek History Lesson. I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And I'm Jason, not the Winter Soldier Inman. Welcome to the Mind University, because this is Geek History Lesson, the podcast where we talk about one character and tell you everything that you need to know about them in a little bit less than an hour. Sometimes more, but mostly less. And today's subject is Black Widow, not the Black Widow we're thinking of. I don't know her name, Ashley. I can't remember it.
Yelena Belova?
Yelena Belova, the Black Widow 2.
Yes, we did a Nat episode way back in year one of Geek History Lesson.
Ways back,
in the before times.
Yes, and we're talking about Yelena
Belova. Just call her Yelena.
Can I call her Yelena? Yeah. All right, cool. I'm sorry, Yelena. That's just your name is difficult for my tongue to wrap around.
And look, we're just doing our best. We don't speak Russian.
Exactly. Beautiful name.
Absolutely.
But, Ashley, we are doing Yelena's Black Widow episode because, of course, there's a little MCU Marvel movie out there called Black Widow.
Black Widow.
No subtitle. That's fine. Just Black Widow.
Black Widow time travel adventure.
And we're pretty certain Yelena's in it, or some version of Yelena is in it. And
well, I'm pretty sure there is a character called Yelena in the movie.
You heard it here.
How much she is like this character remains to be seen.
It's an exclusive. You just heard it here.
Yeah,
and this lesson was suggested by some lovely listeners of ourselves, some excellent students at the Mind University. Who are those people?
This episode was requested by Geeks with Shields podcast at Spider_Hawk and our good friend, scribe of The Only Living Boy and Girl and several many other excellent comics, host of For the Love of Comics podcast, David Gallagher.
Ooh, nice.
Who, back when we were going to do this episode to air last year when we first thought Black Widow was coming out, we had hoped to be a guest, but now we've just recorded this because it's going to come out sometime. So sorry, David, we'll have you for something else. We love you.
All right, then.
And we are not going to be talking a ton about Yelena and the movie because at the time of this recording, we haven't heard it. But if you do want to hear us talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we are going to do that over on Patreon this week. And Jason, where can people go to listen to that?
You can find as well, if you need more Geek History Lesson content, at patreon.com/Jawiin. That's Jawiin, because we have 3 exclusive podcasts over there for you to listen on Patreon, plus access to a Discord, plus access to all kinds of other stuff. It's great. Go over there every single month on patreon.com/Jawiin.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
You actually get 4 Geek History Lessons a month, sometimes 5, depending on how many weeks.
I said specific podcasts.
Oh, that's true.
Not episodes, Ashley.
That's true.
Slow your roll.
All right, what do we do next?
Next, we're going into the 10-cent origin, which actually is the first section of this podcast, where that is Ashley is going to give you the Cliff Notes version of everything you need to know about Yelena Black Widow, in case you're going to a cool, sexy Russian cocktail party, and some spy walks up to you and says, "Tell me about this Black Widow called Yelena." And then you're like, wait a minute, are you James Bond? And he's like, no, I'm not. Just tell me about Yelena. And then you better answer.
Well, Yelena Belova, a.k.a. the Black Widow, a.k.a. the Super Adaptoid, a.k.a. the Pale Little Spider, a.k.a. Little Pale Spider, a.k.a. Spider, a.k.a. Little Spider, a.k.a. Ruskaya, a.k.a. Captain Yelena Belova, a.k.a. Minister of State, a.k.a. the Crimson Widow, is a Marvel Comics character created by Devin Grayson, who we love, and the G.J. Jones. First appearance in Inhumans number 5 in March of 1999. Our team affiliations include A.I.M, Russian Federation, SHIELD, and Vanguard, and her abilities include peak athletic training, extensive military martial arts, and espionage training, and she will be played in the upcoming Black Widow movie in the MCU by Florence Pugh. It's my dodgy Russian accent for the entire 10-cent origin.
All right.
So she's going to be played by Florence Pugh, which means Ashley's excited about it. And that's your 10-cent origin on Yelena Belova. So shall we go into the Meet Cute?
Yes, the Meet Cute is where Ashley and I will tell you where we first meeted and cuted said character.
Yeah.
Ashley, where'd you meet this character?
I learned that Yelena existed when I heard that she was going to be in the upcoming Black Widow movie. I am not super familiar with this character before we did this lesson.
My meet cute for Yelena is honestly, I don't honestly remember where the heck I met this character.
Fine.
To be honest with you, I would say that I met this character, honestly, in comic book ad that I saw in a Marvel comic book for the Marvel Knights Black Widow for this series, and there was a blonde woman on the cover, and I'm pretty certain that's the first time I met her.
That's fair. I would assume that is where a lot of people first met her.
Because I literally was like, who is this blonde Black Widow behind the Black Widow? Mm-hmm. And then I found out it was the Black Widow.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. What next?
Now we're going into the History 101, where Ashley is going to tell you everything you needed to know about this character, except in more detail.
There you go. So as many people familiar with Black Widow may have imagined, Yelena was trained by the same organization that trained Natasha Romanoff. And for more info on Nat's training, like I said, check out Geek History Lesson episode 104, also taught by me. She was trained by the Red Room Academy. And according to Marvel Comics, the Red Room was one of Department X's espionage training facilities. It plays a critical role in Natalia Romanoff's life. For decades, the Red Room has been a Cold War program to train the deadliest female spies in the world, and it was created due to the success of their previous sleeper agent and assassin, the Winter Soldier. So basically, Yelena comes from the proud tradition of Nat and Bucky Barnes. And when reflecting on her time in training at the Red Room, Yelena claimed that her test scores exceeded those of Natasha's during her stint there. So Natasha had previously been their star pupil. Previous to that, it had been Bucky. And then by the time Yelena comes around, she is the new wunderkind of the Red Room, which debatable whether or not that's something to be proud of. We should all be proud of our successes, but she's a very, very capable young lady. She was trained a little differently than her fellow Black Widows because while she was offered extensive physical training, she was not given the same espionage training. Everything that she winds up learning about espionage, she learns in the field, which puts her at a distinct disadvantage to Nat or Bucky or her fellow widows. I feel like this is an arbitrary difference. It seems ridiculous to me that you would take this proficient student and then not teach her how to be a spy, just kind of teach her how to kick ass. But I think in an effort and in a vie to make her different than Nat, they kind of gave her the treatment that Korra gets in Legend of Korra versus Aang in Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they're making her more physically based than intellectually based, and that's something she kind of has to learn as her story goes along. And her very first appearance is when the American and Russian government ally tried to take down the shield surrounding Atalan. Now, Jason, what is Atalan?
If it's the Atalan I think you're talking about, it's the royal city of the Inhumans, the hidden city of the Inhumans, the capital city.
Yes, and it's like 50,000 years old, and it is located ambiguously in the North Atlantic Ocean of the Marvels of the 616 Earth.
It changes locations. It's actually first in the Himalayas, then it goes to the blue side of the moon, and then it lands in the Atlantis.
Well, maybe that's where it is.
Or, excuse me, in the Atlantic Ocean.
Maybe that's where it is currently at the time of this recording.
And then it floated above New York for a while. It moves.
Yeah.
It moves around.
But sometimes it hangs out in the sea. So Yelena Belova Black Widow is sent in to lower the barriers around Atalan when it's attacking the Allied forces. And in response, Yuri Stalyenko, who is a senior member of the Red Room Black Widow program, sicks Yelena on Natasha, who's also there doing kind of Avengers stuff.
Okay.
Fun fact, he doesn't just pick Yelena of his own volition. She insists that she's going to go in to fight Natasha, who it is referred to as being her former sister. The whole sister of it all, if anyone is unfamiliar, is she's not her biological sister. Yelena and Natasha are not biologically related. It is sister in terms of they both worked in the Red Room. They had similar training. And if you have seen any of the trailers and stuff for the Black Widow movie, you can see that they're taking that a little more to heart than the comics do. But I just wanted to establish that they're not biological siblings.
Yes.
And the plan is for Yelena to steal the Deathless Frenzy. Do you know what the Deathless Frenzy is?
I have no idea. It sounds like a 90s comic thing, even though I know Yelena wasn't created until the 2000s.
She was created in 1999.
Yeah, sure.
So she does come out of that tradition that you're
yes.
thinking about. You know, she would have been percolating, or aspects of her personality would have been percolating earlier. It's a serum that Natasha had with her.
Okay.
And it is her job to acquire it and ensure that it ends up in Russia and is used for Russian ends rather than American ends or anything that the Allied force wants to do, or the quote-unquote greater good. Just a little more detail, the Deathless Frenzy was a bioweapon that was created by Dr. Didier Inez. When given to a subject, it would cause them to go into an unstoppable blind rage. So, like so many things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's kind of what if the Hulk but super soldier serum, though?
I mean, that kind of tracks.
And I think it tracks for Red Room characters, the Widows, stuff like that. They're always going after these serums or these injections or these medicines that are going to make you a stronger soldier, but maybe not a healthier person necessarily.
Yes.
On the mission, Nat gets the drop on Yelena by tricking Yelena into thinking that Natasha has died. There is a lot of one of the widows tricking the other widows by pretending to be dead, killing robot or clone versions of the widows. So, like, just strap in. So Natasha's playing possum right now. Sadly for Yelena, her plan ultimately fails. She is tricked. She is captured and then dragged off to, like, you know, Lord knows where to be tortured. But in spite of her failings, Yelena states that she had learned important lessons over the course of her failure, and she will use them to be stronger and better than ever before. So at least she can take her loss with grace.
Okay.
Later, when Natasha comes back around to try and get information about General Stalyenko, Yelena comes into play once again because she had been captured by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents all the time at the time and was thus accessible to Nat. So she's not hidden or being protected right now. So they're going after this same general who sent Yelena after Natasha in the first place. So, of course, they're just going to turn around, tie her to a chair, and beat the hell out of her until she gives them answers. And what happens to Yelena during this time is actually like super, super messed up, if you ask me. Natasha works with Nick Fury and Daredevil to give Yelena plastic surgery procedure after plastic surgery procedure until she looks exactly like Natasha.
So very much like a kind of Batman Hush kind of thing going on here. Okay.
It should be noted, I will say, and I say this because Jason loves Daredevil, that Daredevil does repeatedly speak out against this idea, but is ultimately convinced to go along with the plan by his superiors within S.H.I.E.L.D. So I do want to state that Matt is against it, but he also doesn't do anything like super meaningful to help her either.
Well, Daredevil has a lot of connections to Black Widow. She's like one of his most famous girlfriends, along with Elektra, and there's another one as well. But
Karen?
Yes. Karen Page. Yeah, they're like his three famous girlfriends. So I don't mind that Matt's involved with this.
Now, Jason, what do you think of these fine Marvel Comics universe heroes doing this to Yelena once they've pumped her full of drugs?
You mean making her look like Nat?
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand the reason why they did it.
And what do you think they do after they've done it? So they've pumped her full of drugs, given her multiple surgeries, and knocked her on the head a few times. So what do you think their next move with this hostage is?
Well, why did they make her look like Natalia?
Well, we'll see.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know, honestly. I have no guesses here.
Make a hilarious guess.
Of why they would make this
what do they do with
look like
what do they do
friend?
with her after once they've accomplished surgeries?
I'm gonna guess that they create a Thirsty Thursday. That's a reference that if you're with the kids, as they'd say. I mean, we do know that Daredevil is a quite promiscuous dude, and I'm gonna say that his birthday present was that he wanted to be around two Black Widows that both look the same, and this is the way he did it.
Well, that's a great guess, but you're wrong. They spin Yelena around a couple times, throw her out of the building into the streets of New York City, and they let her wander around dazed and confused with no idea what just happened to her.
Okay.
Which, in my opinion, not terribly heroic, not a great move. Although, given the fact that it's a Nick Fury move, I guess I shouldn't be surprised by it. I just think it's a real crummy thing to do. When this happens, Yelena is so confused that when she does manage to find help and shelter, she doesn't recognize herself because she's had plastic surgery, and she has a tough time reorganizing her memory to the point where she nearly goes insane right then and there, just on the streets of New York City. Thankfully, maybe they don't leave Yelena alone forever. She is eventually scooped back up by S.H.I.E.L.D. and given back her identity once they think she's learned her lesson. She accuses Natasha and S.H.I.E.L.D. of violating her and compares having her identity ripped away from her and replaced with being raped. So we're getting... the question of sexuality and autonomy is something that comes up around the Black Widows a lot. And so we're diving right into this thematically, right with the beginning with Yelena. Natasha argues that she was trying to help Yelena understand that being a spy is not the same as being a hero. And if you ask me, that's a pretty weak sauce excuse that she okayed what was happening to one of the only women in the world who would understand what she had gone through as well. Immediately after this, Yelena does get a chance to act as a hero because everyone in the Marvel universe gets to be a hero eventually.
But she still looks like Nat, or no?
No, when they take her back, they give her back her face, so she doesn't look like Nat anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right.
That is something that I will say I hope we don't get in the cinematic universe.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
So she's out there going to be a hero because... Remember when I told you that she was in the Red Room, right? Her mentor there was a man named Lieutenant Colonel Starkovsky. So I'm going to assume he is a Russian relative of Tony Stark. So Peter, it's the Russian spelling Pyotr, but Peter Starkovsky was one of Yelena Belova's instructors in the Red Room, like I said. He taught the new Black Widow hand-to-hand combat, improvised weapons, and knife work for over a decade. And then he became attracted to Yelena and frequented a sex club with her where he hired a woman named Petra to impersonate Yelena while they were together. And so because of this treatment of her, Nick Fury is able to be like, well, he did wrong by you. He was really gross to you. Why don't you help us take him down?
So, oh boy. Yikes. I don't even know where to go with this.
Oh, baby. It's going to get so much weirder.
What is the deal with it? Like, what?
Well, this is Marvel Knights / Marvel Max. She was always created to be...
I don't know if she was a Marvel Max character.
She was Marvel Knights.
Yes.
But I just mean that Knights and Max were always intended to be...
Push the envelope.
More adult storylines. And unfortunately, with women and with the female characters, that almost consistently means violence, sexual violence, and weird stuff.
Yeah, we've already dipped into the weird sexual provocation here, like already too many times, and we're barely,
and we're not done yet.
And we're barely into this lesson. Like I'm already to the point that I'm like, this is too much. Like retcon this character.
Well, this is where I said at the beginning, and I said it as a joke, but I was like, I'll be shocked to see how much of this character from the page. And I'm not saying she's a bad character on the page or anything like that. I'll be shocked if very much of this, besides the name and the fact that she was in the Red Room, makes it over into the Disney produced Marvel Cinematic Universe played by Florence Pugh character.
I agree. I think very little of it's going to carry over.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, but it's okay because Yelena shoots him in the head. And the Red Room is like, hey, you're a Black Widow now. Congratulations. So
here's your diploma.
Kind of. Yeah. So after all of this, she elects to leave the life of a spy behind her because it really didn't help her case. And one of the ways that she is able to hunt down and kill Starkovsky is she actually impersonates Natasha and steals her sister's identity, her fellow Black Widow, in order to accomplish this. So after that, she's like, well, I've been Natasha in more ways than one. I think I'm going to try to be me. So, Jason, I want to ask you this question.
Yes, please.
You had a life of international intrigue and espionage.
Not really.
Once you left that behind you, what's the first thing that you did?
Took a vacation.
All right. Well, that's not what Yelena does.
I'm going to guess she does something sexual.
Yeah, that's a good guess.
All right.
Instead of taking a vacation or like getting into yoga or like having a boyfriend or getting a cat or a plant, she becomes a lingerie model. And she is so popular and so successful that she starts her own brand and launches a lingerie company, which grows so rapidly it becomes described as a, quote, lingerie empire.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And look, this is not me criticizing lingerie models or people who, or anything like that. Look, it's just such a weird turn.
I have no problem with them.
No, that's not where my strain in my voice is coming from.
I want to make this abundantly clear. Geek History Lesson officially has no problem with any lingerie model. I don't care what the sex is.
No.
In fact, feel free to send pictures to geekhistorylesson@gmail.com.
You could be on the show.
No, we're not promising that. We're just saying that we might look at your pictures. All right, soapbox over.
Okay.
So put that in a press release. We need to put that.
Yeah. Okay, I'll work.
I think people need to know about that.
Need to know that that's our stance.
Yeah.
Okay, so she starts a lingerie empire. It is stated in this storyline that Yelena's company brings in over $500,000 a month. That's $6 million a year if you're doing the math at home.
It's a lot of underwear.
It is. I don't know if that's a lot of money in terms of the corporate world, but I think that's a lot of money.
Can I ask a question?
You may,
I forgot. Did you, do we know the name of this company?
I do not know it. Off the top of my head, I apologize.
All right, it's fine.
I'm going to say the Black Widow.
The Black Bras?
Something. I'm sure it's something.
Is there an underwear with a W name? The Widows.
The Wild Widows?
The Widows. I don't know.
The whimsical
We're going to figure this out. There's a name for this company.
I'm sure there is. So Yelena's sexy empire does not end here. Are you ready?
Okay.
She then makes a jump into adult entertainment, owning several channels based out of Moscow and Havana.
Okay, first I want to make this clear.
That sound is not for sex workers.
Geek History Lesson has no problem with any sex workers across the world. In fact, if you are a sex worker, email... No. Wow. Like this character, or the creators working on this character cannot...
Created by Devin Grayson.
Who is a great writer.
Who we love.
A fantastic writer on Nightwing and Batman Gotham Knights. By the way, if you've never read Batman and Gotham Knights...
Oh, do yourself a favor.
And her Nightwing run is excellent. This character can't escape anything to do with sex. It's every single thing you've told me so far has some tie to sex.
Look, and I have no problem
This is ridiculous.
I have no problem with sex or sexuality being a large part of a character's story because, like I mentioned in the Cheetah episode, these are adult characters.
That's fine.
They engage in adult acts. That's fine. She-Hulk has a very sexy moment.
But like this, she's a spy.
Well, she's not. She's a sex worker.
She's a sex worker. That is exactly what she's not a spy at all.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But let's talk about some of the cool things that come out of her adult turn.
You might want to rephrase that.
No, it is cool. Something cool that happens
No, I meant the specific. I would let it pass. I'll let it pass.
Is that she protects her female sex workers and employees and keeps them safe and healthy. I think that is tip-top. She even exports stolen medical supplies from Miami and distributes them to people suffering from AIDS, which is pretty badass, if you ask me, for someone owning an empire like that. So those are good things. Mm-hmm. While investigating who these drugs were being stolen from and what they were being used for, she discovers their origin and traces them all the way back to the mafia, which, of course, leads Natasha to being kidnapped and tortured by people that Yelena was stealing them from in the first place. So the sisters are together again. They tried to use the drugs to alter Natasha's mind and extract information on Yelena from her. But like we talked about at the top of the episode, Natasha has more extensive espionage and spy training, so she doesn't break because no matter what, she's better than Yelena, which is pretty much what you get from reading Yelena stories, and I think is going to be a running theme of the movie as well.
Oh, yeah. Until someone dies.
I've
heard someone's going to die.
Well, spoiler alert, it's a time travel story.
There might have been a movie called Endgame. Someone might have died.
Exactly.
Just throw that out there.
Then she teams up with Daredevil. We like Daredevil.
Who doesn't like Daredevil? Matt Murdock.
I mean, lots of people. Kingpin.
That's fair. That's fair.
That Owsley guy.
That's fair.
Elektra, arguably.
Look, I just want to make our position on Daredevil known. We have no problem with Daredevil. And if you like Daredevil, give us an email at geekhistory.com.
Send us your pictures of Daredevil.
Yeah, your toys.
We'll look at them.
We have a Daredevil toy hanging up on the wall right now.
Yeah, we have several Daredevil toys.
Yes, but only one hanging up on the wall right now.
Yes.
Okay.
True.
We should do a press release about that.
Working with Daredevil, Yelena manages to rescue Nat, which is pretty good for her.
Cool.
But rather than trying to make things better, they go worse for her because Yelena feels really bad when afterward Natasha goes to hunt down Kestrel, Martin Ferris, and Sally Ann Carter, who were the people who had captured Yelena in the first place and led Nat to looking for her.
Got it.
She next pops up in the Savage Land. Jason, what's the Savage Land?
The Savage Land is a jungle sort of paradise place full of dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, Khazar, and weird mutants that is in Antarctica.
Yeah. That's the place where I would put a Russian spy of questionable training.
A lot of the mutants, a lot of mutants are down there too. A lot of X-Men stories, like Magneto has had a couple bases in the Savage Land.
Wolverine's been there a bunch.
Can I make a guess?
Sure.
Are you about to tell us about New Avengers?
Maybe.
Okay.
So she pops up in the Shadowland.
The Savage Land.
The Shadowland, the Savage Land.
Yes.
The Savage.
The Shadowland is a different place.
Sorry. The Savage Land. To face down the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D., who were illegally mining vibranium at the time.
This is the New Avengers, Brian Michael Bendis.
You want to add anything to?
No, there's not much to it. They basically go there. I think they just find her. They're like, oh, hey.
Yeah, kind of.
Yelena Belova.
There's a skirmish that happens after.
By the way, I love... This is Captain America, by the way. Hi, I'm Captain America. Yelena, big fan of the underwear, just have to say.
Oh, duh.
I'm wearing some of it.
I don't know how to say thank you.
I'm wearing some of it under the chainmail right now. Very comfortable.
What's thank you in Russian? I know. I don't
know.
Doesn't matter. So they're fighting. She fights against Sauron, who it really like...
I think you mean Sauron.
It's literally spelled like Sauron.
Okay.
Sauron.
That is not the one-eyed thing of Lord of the Rings.
No, I was just going to make that, but that cracks me up because it is the same spelling.
It's the dinosaur guy from X-Men.
Yes.
Yep.
But I'm going to say Sauron because...
Although it would make this more interesting if it was the Lord of the Rings
Super
guy.
sexy Sauron?
Yeah.
And then, so they're fighting. Sauron intervenes and basically burns Yelena to a crisp, causing her catastrophic physical injury. My next prompt says, ask Jason who is Sauron.
Yep, the dinosaur guy.
Do you know his government name? His non-mutant name?
No, I actually don't.
It is Carl Lycos.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
He's an anthropomorphic pterodactyl, like Jason implied. The dinosaur guy,
dinosaur guy.
So he burns her to a crisp and kicks her butt. So while recovering in the ICU, which is pretty much the only place to recover, Yelena is approached by a shadowy man and a group of A.I.M scientists. Jason, what's A.I.M?
A.I.M is advanced, I believe, individual mechanics. And they're sort of like evil. They're not evil just for the sake of being evil. They're evil for the sake of science.
Yes.
They want to learn science. They're usually the guys in the Marvel Universe you see in the yellow outfits where their helmets are like squares.
Good description. So she's approached by...
Can I bring up an action figure spotlight?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Hold on a second. We have music for this now. Hold on.
Holding.
Man, if I was an A.I.M...
Have I told you about my Black Widow underwear?
If I was an A.I.M, I'd be fired. Because I can't find this stuff. That's all.
I almost just spit my drink all over the place. That was really funny. If you would like to see Jason dressed up like an AIM agent for...
Action figure spotlight, everybody. There is Hasbro Pulse, who makes Marvel Legends. They have a figure that you can buy on their site, HasbroPulse.com, that is an AIM.
Oh, yes.
It's just an AIM soldier. And I've seen a lot of people online, which is very cool, have bought like 10 of them so they can have the AIM army.
Yes, they also did that maybe 5
for the
years ago.
Agents.
Yes, and a bunch of people bought, like 15 Hydra. Honestly, from a marketing and sales perspective, effing genius.
Yeah,
because there are those army builders, those platoon builders, so that makes complete sense.
Yeah, I almost consider it because they're kind of the AIM design is really good.
If you have an AIM action figure, or if you have 15 of them and you're looking to unload one, you can email us at geekhistoryLesson@gmail.com. We'll send you back something cool.
Look, I just want to make it clear that we are.
Send us pictures of your.
Yes, please send us pictures of your A.I.M action figures. Only your A.I.M action figures.
We support A.I.M here on the podcast.
Yeah, we should do a press release about that.
You keep almost making me spit. You're the devil. So these A.I.M scientists like sidle up to Yelena in the ICU and they're like, "Ooh, you're burned, but those pictures were so sexy. I loved your underwear."
No. This is what the A.I.M agent does. The A.I.M agent's like, Miss Yelena. Oh wait, hold on. I'll give you a different voice. Miss Yelena.
I am Yelena.
I just want to say, big fan of the underwear. I'm wearing some right underneath the suit right now.
Oh, thank you.
Very comfortable.
Can I help you more?
No. Can you sign the thong?
Oh, yes. All my fingers are horribly maimed, but I will try.
I'm going to put the Sharpie in your mouth.
Oh, dear. What's your name?
Gerald.
Dear Gerald. Stay sexy. Love, Yelena. I'm a turtle spider.
Oh, thank you. I'm never going to watch these.
You better not. I will kill you.
No, I've actually never washed them once. Been wearing them 17 days.
Oh, boy. I hope you are powdering your suit with cornstarch.
Cornstarch?
Don't you put cornstarch like in rubber boots?
What are they, a corn muffin?
No, but just because it'd be damp in there.
I think it's just baby powder.
Because it's a rubber suit.
Baby powder.
If you, our stance on the podcast is we are pro cornstarch and pro baby powder. Both of them are acceptable. So they sidle up to Yelena in her hospital bed. I'm assuming she's in traction because it's funnier in my brain. Mm-hmm. And they offer to cure her, to take all of her achy burns away and, quote, make her better, end quote, and more powerful than ever before. And this is the origin of a $6 million woman.
Oh, boy. Although I think because of inflation, it'd be way higher.
$6 trillion woman.
Yeah, more likely. I will say that is actually a common trope or cliche in Marvel Comics, that A.I.M has done that to many other heroes.
I guess debatable whether or not she's a hero.
Well, I was going to say heroes and villains. That's a common trait where A.I.M shows up and it's like, oh, when you're on your hospital bed and they're like, hey, we can help you better. And you're like, oh, how? And the A.I.M agents are like, we'll turn you into a cyborg.
I know.
And you're like, no.
They're basically like the Mephistopheles, even though I think Mephistopheles might exist in this universe, of the 616, where they're like, hey, have you heard of Faust? No? Great. We got a deal for you, baby.
Yes. Yeah.
They offer to make her more powerful than all of the Avengers combined. And of course they want something from her in return because comics. So they tell Yelena that if she accepts their help, she will kill. Jason, who do you think they want her to kill in recompense? It's not related to this character at all. It makes no sense.
Oh, okay.
We have done a geek history lesson on this character, and it is a woman.
Okay, now you really throw me off the trail. I was gonna say Black Widow, but obviously it's not Black Widow.
What's kind of like? So a widow is what type of animal?
A spitter.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So who's the only other female spider character at this point in 1999?
Well, we're in like the mid 2000s now.
Well, whatever. Because this is pre-Spider-Gwen and pre-Silk.
Jessica Drew?
Uh-huh.
Spider-Woman?
They say, we'll fix you. We'll make you the $6 million woman if you kill Jessica Drew.
Okay, so this is some of the interesting stuff with this character. Finally, we're getting beyond this sex industry work.
Yes, we're actually getting it, but we're actually getting into, we've passed the Marvel Max.
Now, I remember this
Marvel
because this is one of the best things that Brian Michael Bendis has ever written, his New Avengers run, his original New Avengers run. Do you remember why they wanted her to kill Jessica Drew?
No.
Because at this time, this is the lead up to Secret Invasion.
Oh,
and
yes.
Jessica Drew is secretly a Skrull.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
So there she goes, well, yeah, maybe I'd be up for that. And they explain that the procedure will turn her into an updated version of an Adaptoid. Jason, do you know what an Adaptoid is? It's okay if you don't.
Well, this is one of those, Marvel has a million different robots.
Yeah.
And they all have weird names like Super Adaptoid. If I could be wrong on this, I think this is the robot in the Marvel Universe that can look like other people or can adapt to your powers. It's something like that.
Adaptoids are basically superpowered beings that become superpowered by absorbing the powers of the cosmic cube. And the cube was made human, and the cube bestowed these powers on other adaptoids, and his name is Cubic. And yes, they can adapt in a...
Cubic is a very cool character that's coming up in the Marvel Universe. I don't know if you're going to talk about Cubic anymore.
No, that's pretty much
She's
it.
literally a physical living embodiment of the cosmic.
But she's like a little girl, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. I think I said he before.
She's the girl that turned Captain America evil and then not evil.
Yeah.
When he was a super Nazi for a while. By the way, I completely bungled that answer about the Adaptoids. I apologize. And I just want to say that I am pro Adaptoid. And if you're an Adaptoid out there, please email us at geekhistoryLesson@gmail.com.
Please do. If you're Cubic, we will have you on the podcast.
We should do a press release about that.
Sure. I'll make a note. I'm not taking notes this episode. And so the next time Yelena comes up against the Avengers is right before Luke Cage and Jessica Drew get married.
You mean Jessica Jones?
Yep. Too many Jessicas. I'm so sorry.
It's a lot of Jessicas. It's fine.
Jesus.
They're both on the
absolute
same.
Christ.
Hey, they're both on the same team. It's an honest mistake.
They're both white women with brown hair. How am I supposed to tell the difference? Says a white woman with brown hair. So they're about to get married. So as an Adaptoid, Yelena's new powers make her even more obstinate as a foe than before. So she's more powerful. She's more dangerous. She's a better super villainess than she ever was before.
Okay.
And these new abilities, as Jason referred to earlier, give her the power to absorb any attack she suffers and turn it back on the Avengers, fulfilling A.I.M's original promise to her to make her more powerful than all the Avengers combined.
Okay.
They didn't lie. They didn't tell the truth, but they didn't lie. I am very interested in whether or not we will see a version of the Adaptoids, maybe not as Yelena in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I
think we will.
I think they would be a cool, like one movie villain sort of hiding, like the Chitauri were to Thanos, right? Like we fought the Chitauri, but Thanos was the overarching threat. I think they could serve that role in a really interesting way.
Yes.
So Yelena becomes thrown off balance when she absorbs the power of Sentry and Void at the same time, which basically means that she garners tremendous power, like output power, bolts and stuff like that, and an internalized black hole, which could absorb all of that aforementioned power. She kind of becomes a paradox.
Okay.
Of forces and of science. So during this part of their conflict, the same shadowy man who altered Yelena in the first place and sent her after Spider-Woman decided that she would be incapable of finishing the job, and then she is rendered disposable. And in an Amanda Waller-esque move, he presses a button which appears to kill Yelena in her Adaptoid form. Thank you for listening. Geek History Lesson over. Just kidding. Just kidding. Yelena wasn't dead because comics, right? And because we're only like halfway through the lesson.
Exactly.
So when it was revealed that she was alive after all, we discover her working as an operative of Vanguard. Jason, do you know what Vanguard is?
Not in this
Besides
respect.
a old video game.
Well, there's
arcade
also,
game.
I believe there's also a Vanguard that's an Eric Larson character. He's an alien with antennae, but I'm pretty certain that's not who you're talking about.
Vanguard was the name of a secret Black Ops team of superheroes
that
carried out missions, including assassinations on foreign soil.
Of course they are.
And as a member of Vanguard, Yelena basically to Vanguard is what Natasha is to the Avengers. She is their spy. She is their hand-to-hand combat expert.
Okay.
She is their dressed in black leather badass lady. Sadly, her tenure in this position does not last very long, and her involvement with them forces her into hiding until they do eventually disband. Then, something Jason mentioned earlier happened, Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
Which is basically the Marvel event where everyone's revealed to be Skrulls.
Yeah.
And we use that to bring back a bunch of characters who've been dead for however many years that creators wanted to write again. Post-Secret Invasion, Yelena is approached by Norman Osborn while she is looting an abandoned S.H.I.E.L.D. base of operations.
Okay.
Or so readers are led to believe. It turns out it's not really Yelena. It's Natasha pretending to be Yelena, which kind of seems, by this point in publication history, to be Yelena's lot in life. I mentioned it earlier. There's a lot of like each of them pretending to be the other one for convenience of plot. All Yelena is good for, it seems to be pretending to be Natasha or the other way around. Yeah, and being nude. Norman Osborn appeared to have wanted to recruit Yelena for his new Thunderbolts team. But Nick Fury had known this all along because, of course, he's Nick Fury and had placed Natasha in his way to infiltrate the team. This turned out to be a double blind because Osborn knew that Fury knew about his Thunderbolts business and decided to play into it and get Natasha to get to Nick Fury.
All right.
This also leads to the execution of Songbird. Jason, you love Songbird. How does this make you feel?
That she executed Songbird?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so interesting. I didn't know that Songbird died.
Well, now you know. Spoilers.
Well, because Songbird is still around in the Marvel Universe, so she must have died and then come back.
Well,
I had no idea that she was killed.
Well, you know what, Jason? You're not wrong. Because it turns out Songbird wasn't executed after all.
Aha!
But she and Natasha managed to pull this as a double blind and to escape from Norman Osborn's control.
Oh, boy.
Annoyed, as one would be.
Of course.
Osborn wakes up Yelena, who, much like Winter Soldier, had been frozen and kept in stasis until her services would be required.
Oh, so he opens the refrigerator.
Yeah. But Songbird makes it out. By the way, action figure spotlight.
Wait. Action figure spotlight.
There's a dope Songbird Marvel Legends.
There is.
That I got for Jason.
It's directly behind Ashley Victoria Robinson right now at the time of this recording, and it's a hopeful. We right now have 3 action figures. Mm-hmm. 4 if you count the classic Hawkeye action figure, because I do. We have 3 of the Thunderbolts. We only need 3 more.
That sounded like you said the Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts. That's what I call them.
That's what Clint calls them.
That's what I call them. Hey, Thunderbolts. It's funny.
I'm not even super familiar with Songbird, but it is a really cool looking action figure. Whoever picked the costume and the design did an excellent job.
And actually, it was the first of the Thunderbolts that was made.
Yes.
She becomes an Avenger.
Yes, she does.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be cool to see in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason, I mentioned that Norman Osborn went and woke Yelena up from stasis.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
Who do you think put her in stasis?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Guess.
Calvin Klein, because he didn't want to take her business. He didn't want to fight her business anymore.
You know, that's a good guess, but it's actually the Avengers.
Okay.
Which, again, as with all things Yelena Belova, it is sort of ethnic ambiguity whether it's cool for a team of heroes to be doing this against her will.
Yep, fair.
So, sadly, Elena was, quote-unquote, recovered shortly thereafter by A.I.M and, quote-unquote, liberated from the Avengers. Mm-hmm. They bring her to their new fake Marvel Comics country, Barbuda, where she is offered a position on their High Council and takes on the role and moniker of Minister of State, which I initially, during my research for this episode, assumed that was a Russian thing, but it turns out that is actually an A.I.M thing, and now we all know. She next came up against the Secret Avengers. How come there just can't be one Avengers team?
Well, because adjectives and money.
She came up against the Secret Avengers when they attempted to infiltrate A.I.M Island and free Mockingbird by intercepting Mockingbird. She intercepts her in hand-to-hand combat, resulting in Mockingbird being shot by another A.I.M operative and dying. And this death actually matters. Mockingbird stays dead for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's Mockingbird because the last person that we almost killed was Songbird.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Yelena just hates birds.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
Well, also related to Hawkeye. Because Mockingbird is Hawkeye's wife. So,
yes.
And Songbird was connected with Thunderbolts, which Hawkeye led. So I think Yelena actually has a problem with Hawkeye.
I mean, a lot of women in the Marvel Comics universe.
Well, Black Widow.
Yeah, Black Widow.
There you go.
Jason, that was really funny. The Secret Avengers then took Mockingbird's body away via submarine.
Why a submarine?
I do because comics.
Because we had it.
Because they're on this fake island. They're on Barbuda. They're on this fake Marvel Comics universe.
Yeah,
that's it's actually not the wildest thing about this.
Hey Cap, we got the submarine around here. Why not haul a dead body with it?
Yeah. Can you infiltrate it the way you infiltrated the French kicker guys?
You mean Batroc?
Yeah, I just knew it was French.
Batroc the Leaper?
Yeah. And murder everyone on board, but we're going to pretend that you didn't because it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We don't kill people.
That was a diatribe.
So the Secret Avengers took Mockingbird's body away via submarine, but soon learned that they themselves had been duped. Jason.
Yes.
Based on everything that we know about Yelena Belova so far.
I'm still going to get this wrong.
It's okay. How do we think they were duped?
Oh, my God. I'm going to guess that it wasn't Yelena, that it's actually, is it Natalia?
So they have Mockingbird's body right now. What about, how did Yelena trick them with Mockingbird's body?
Is the dead body actually Yelena?
Yeah, of course.
Because they're both blonde?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
So
where's the real Bobby? Where's the real Mockingbird?
Probably on a beach somewhere decomposing.
With Hawkeye connected to Black Widows, it all makes sense.
This is like, you are like the ancient aliens guys right now. What about Hawkeye? So they had not escaped with Mockingbird's body. They had escaped with Yelena wearing a hollow camouflage device on her belt.
Made of underwear.
Made of her own panties. At the same time, the lore of the Red Room was also being expanded because Black Widow had been introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That is correct.
And readers were learning more about the facilities, and we actually learned that the Red Room had grown several clones of Yelena Belova.
Oh, dear God. Are you telling me there's a Black Widow clone saga going on here?
Oh, baby, just hold on to your butts. Hold on to your Yelena Belova lingerie-clad butts. They were expanding in an effort to keep as many of their best agents in the field as often and for as long as possible. Spoiler alert, as always happens with clones, all the clones do eventually die.
Yep.
So the point of the clones is to have them function as the very best agents on behalf of the Red Room out in the field and be able to take down threats like the Avengers. Duh. So as one may assume, at a certain point, a clone of the at the time dead Natasha Romanoff comes to life, runs about, discovers the truth about a series of Yelena clones running about, and she's not super happy about that.
Okay.
So this leads clone Nat to begin working against her bosses and use some Yelena clones to try and make her escape and take them down. Is this an ethical thing to do? For clone Natasha to use clone Yelenas to free the real Yelena? I don't know. This is weird. It's not very good.
Look, everything I've learned in this lesson is that it's all weird and who knows. And good God.
I don't think there's any God involved in this.
No, obviously not.
So, Natasha eventually makes her escape with one of the amnesiac clones of Yelena. Their escape doesn't go very smoothly because they're spotted, and they are followed by Hawkeye and the Winter Soldier almost immediately. We've talked about the Winter Soldier a couple times in this episode. We have talked about Hawkeye repeatedly. Jason, are these characters cameos that you'd be interested in seeing in a Black Widow movie or in Black Widow movies going forward?
Who exactly? I'm sorry.
Hawkeye and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, well, I think again, at the time of this recording, we have not seen Black Widow, the movie. But it was already confirmed that Jeremy Renner is in the Black Widow movie. And I actually hope that Winter Soldier is in that movie.
So do I.
And to be honest with you, yeah, it makes sense. I know movie Winter Soldier is not as connected to Black Widow as comic book Winter Soldier and Black Widow are connected because they are romantic together.
Yeah.
But I still like that relationship. Yeah.
So Winter Soldier, being who he is, manages to capture clone Yelena. He interrogates her. He knocks her around and hits her and stuff in an attempt to interrogate her. Learns nothing from her. So because Bucky does have a soft heart underneath that metal arm, he does let her go because she's of no use to him. She doesn't live very long, unfortunately, because when she meets back up with Natasha kills her. At the end of this movie, it's definitely a comic book. At the end of this comic book, it is revealed that the real Yelena she killed clone Yelena. Real Yelena had previously been murdered by Natasha off panel in order to have a mind-wiped clone impersonate her. Now, fun fact, this was actually never revealed on panel, but the person who wrote this was Matthew Rosenberg, and he confirmed this in a tweet that Natasha does kill original Yelena.
Not the clone.
Well, they both die.
Okay, sorry.
They both die, but he confirms that she was killed off panel. I'm going to share the links to the tweet on our social media, but I'm going to read it here now as well.
Okay.
So he's answering questions, and Matthew Rosenberg says, quote, "We don't say it on panel, but she does end up killing Yelena, just not on a public street, end quote. And that's
not a bad answer for a writer of a spy series. That's not a bad answer at all.
And look,
keep it very mysterious and aloof.
The death of Yelena may not have been his choice. Like, we know that working for a large, that may have been editorial, that may have been mandate.
Yes, correct.
So, like, I definitely think this is a messy and borderline disrespectful end to a character who is going to be in your cinematic universe. I will say, do not fear. Sweet listeners, if you were intrigued by this, if you are intrigued by Yelena Belova, she does have a series that at the time of this recording has started called Red Guardian and Yelena Belova. It's basically the series that we're having as a piece of corporate synergy because she has a movie coming up, so she's not really dead.
Yes.
She's pretend comic book dead, and she has a new story coming up. This is where I am going to end the lesson because I don't want to spoil. Their series is called Widowmakers. I don't want to spoil Widowmakers or anything currently being published, but that is...
Great title, by the way.
Excellent title. Mm-hmm. Widowmakers, amazing.
Great title.
That is your rundown on Yelena Belova, the second Black Widow, the blonde one.
All right. Oh, boy. All right, so are we ready for the recommended reading?
We absolutely are ready for the recommended reading.
Well, the recommended reading is, by the way, if everybody doesn't know this is one of my favorite parts of the podcast. That's where Ashley is going to recommend 3 things to read if you're interested in more Yelena Black Widow. And you can go find that at geekhistorylesson.com/recommended reading. And if you click on one of these widgets, it'll take you to Amazon to where you can buy it. And then a little bit comes back to the Mind University because we're going to take it right out of Jeff Bezos' pocket. He won't even know it's there. You'll get a book and we'll get a little bit of income.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, the first thing that I'm going to recommend to you is Marvel Knights Black Widow by Grayson and Rucka, the complete collection. This is the only way that you can get this storyline. It includes Pale Little Spider, which is the arc that introduces Yelena and
another great title.
Launches her entire series. Jason and I definitely had a lot of gripes about her introduction and some of the themes surrounding it. There is some pretty cool stuff with her. The Red Room stuff is really, really neat. Watching the way, if you are a writer or a creator, watching the steps that they take to make her different from Nat is very interesting. And I will say the art is very good in this book. So that's where I recommend finding that. I'm also going to recommend Secret Avengers Volume 2. Iliad, that is the Marvel Now Nick Spencer series that tells the story of Yelena and A.I.M and her becoming an Adaptoid. Really good. And then lastly, because this will be out when this episode comes out, I am recommending Widowmakers, Red Guardian, and Yelena Belova Volume 1. This is the most modern, most contemporary reboot. It is the movie tie-in. I'm assuming this version of Yelena is going to be much closer to the movie version. And because it is going to be geared at a new audience, I've read the first issue. It is an easy jumping on point because Black Widow history is complicated, my friends. And if you are interested in her from the movie, I think this is going to be a great place to have a soft landing if you don't want to start with the Marvel Knights origin.
Yes.
So that is all of your recommended reading.
Yeah. All right. Next, do we have a discussion?
We do have a brief discussion.
Okay, cool.
So we joked about this, but do you want to add any more thoughts to the question of, is the character we are going to see Florence Pugh play going to be anything like the comic book character?
I mean, without having seen the movie.
Of course.
I'm going to say no. I think they're just taking the name.
Yeah, she's going to be blonde, and she's going to have a, quote, sister named Natasha.
Well, she'll be named Yelena, I think.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's all you're getting.
So, looking at the future of the MCU, we know that there's a lot of people. Scarlett Johansson's been with it a long time.
Yeah.
She's one of the longest standing members. I understand why she is looking to either step away or step back. Do you think that in looking to replace Black Widow and looking to replace their Natasha character, that Yelena was the best option for the MCU moving forward?
In terms of replacing Black Widow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, who else would you do?
Well, that's my question for you.
I don't have any other characters that I think would be a good replacement for Natasha. And
My question, and this is something that we're going to see obviously spiraling out as we see this new generation of characters come up, is we're going to see a lot of their legacy characters. We're going to see a lot of copy paste.
Which is something Marvel doesn't do. DC does.
Exactly. Yeah. We're going to see a new character called Black Widow, a new character called Captain America, a new character called Miss Marvel.
We'll probably get a new Falcon.
Well, yeah.
We'll probably get a new Iron Man.
Or we'll get Iron Lad or Iron Heart or something like Iron Heart.
We're going to get a new Hawkeye.
Yeah. I am interested to see, as someone who avowedly loves legacy characters, I'm really interested to see what these all look like, because it is different cinematically, as we know, than it is on the page. Like, are these going to be pale imitations of the first generation characters, or are they going to bring something new?
Well, it also.
But I love Florence Pugh, so I'm here for it.
I love legacy characters as well. Again, my favorite comic character of all time is Nightwing.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting because we know Stan Lee's answer to all of this. Stan Lee doesn't like sidekicks. Yeah. He doesn't like legacy characters, and it feels like, as far as we know, the MCU is going whole hog.
Feels like Kevin Feige might be a Robin fan. Is what you're saying. All right, that's everything for the discussion. Let's move on to the teaching tweet. Jason's favorite part of the podcast.
Yeah, the teaching tweet is the section of the podcast where Ashley gives her thoughts on Black Widow in 140 or who knows how many characters, because that's what Twitter has. But the great thing is you're going to be able to read whatever Ashley comes up with at GHL Podcast on Twitter, which is the perfect reason to follow the podcast on Twitter. Ashley, take it. I don't know why I tapped my water cup. Take it away.
Yelena Belova, Black Widow's blonde kid sister who once had an empire under her belt.
Is that a double entendre there?
It is, yeah. I spent a lot of time on that.
Empire under the lace.
Under her belt.
Under her belt.
Or under her waistline.
There's a lot of time spent on underwear in this lesson. I didn't realize.
Yeah. This was a lesson where I got about halfway through and I was like,
I did not expect.
I don't know about this for our family.
I did not expect where this lesson went.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that officially here at Geek History Lesson, we are fans of underwear. Mm-hmm. And if you are underwear, email us at geekhistorylesson@gmail.com.
Sure.
Yeah. We should put a press release out about that.
One of us has to write a press release about something coming up, and it's not Ashley.
Who says I have to write a press release for that? But let's move on.
We're going to move on to the next section of the podcast, which is the honor roll. Professor Jason, what's that?
The honor roll is if you go over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review of Geek History Lesson on Apple Podcasts, we'll read your review live on the air as a thank you because it's awesome and we love reading them. And also, if you're an international listener, you got to take a screenshot of your 5-star review, email it to us at geekhistorylesson@gmail.com because we can only see the American ones and we want to see the international listeners.
Heck yeah. So on this one, we have 2 people entering the Teacher's Lounge.
Great.
First, we have Ryan Boumel, who says, support Jupiter Jet. So you can tell how far back this one's from. I discovered Jason and Ashley through Collider and the Schmodown. This show is as informative as it is entertaining. I've actually been looking into new characters that I wasn't really a fan of before. I listen to this show while I'm working, and it makes the days better. Keep it up, you guys, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Jason, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Very kind. Very kind.
And then also joining Ryan is Jezatrix, who says bingeable resource. Thank you. I just recently started listening to this podcast and I can't stop. I'm learning more about comics and fantastical characters I already love and finding more stories unknown to me. The hosts speak clearly and are entertaining. Thank you.
We do speak clearly.
I don't know if that's true. They always provide reading suggestions.
Did you
hear my Cheetah episode? Mm-hmm. They always provide reading suggestions for each topic, which is perfect for a little bookworm like me. Fantastic job. Can I please have a coffee from the Teacher's Lounge?
Well, I don't know if there's coffee in there, but I will say there is several fashion magazines left in there by Professor Phillipson. And Professor Phillipson teaches fashion studies.
Sure.
So if Professor Phillipson filled up the coffee machine, then you're welcome to it.
I'll tell you what, Jezatrix, if you make the coffee, you can absolutely have some in the Teacher's Lounge.
Yeah.
By the way, we have Geek History Lesson coffee mugs that are real cute. So if you want a Teacher's Lounge coffee mug, you can very easily acquire one.
Yeah. Is it TeePublic.
It's on your TeePublic, yep.
If you go to geekhistorylesson.com, you can find the link.
Yeah,
because you have to go to the T-shirt, and then you can turn the T-shirt into a mug.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'll post the mug in celebration of Jesutrix. I'll post it on the social media so that people can check that out. But we have one, and, I may be biased, but I really think they're nice. So there, get yourself some coffee.
That's right. And thanks for entering the Teacher's Lounge. Don't be like them.
Mm-hmm.
Go subscribe and follow us. I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about underwear. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us at Spotify and SoundCloud and Stitcher and all those places. Click that follow button so that way you don't miss a single episode. And also, if you're excited about all the MCU stuff that may or may not be happening this year, you know what? Suggest this lesson to a friend. If you got a friend out there that doesn't listen to Geek History Lesson, send it to them. Be like, hey, I think you might like Black Widow. I think you might like underwear. I'm pretty certain you're ambivalent about A.I.M agents. This is the episode for you. Send it to them. Help grow the show, and we really appreciate it.
Or if you need to help to convince people to watch Black Widow with you, I think this is a great starting point.
That's right. And Ashley, if they want to suggest future lessons like the awesome TAs that we have in our lesson today, where can they do that?
If you want to be as amazing as Geeks with Shields podcast at Spider_Hawk and David Gallagher, you can do that by going to geekhistorylesson.com, facebook.com/geekhistorylesson, or on Twitter at GHL Podcast, because Geek History Lesson was too long.
By the way, I want to give a shout out to David Gallagher, who is a great writer, and we have the Only Living Boy Omnibus, which is his excellent all ages series. And if you're looking for a really cool fantasy Lord of the Rings young kid series, The Only Living Boy is an excellent choice, and I definitely want to shout that out.
Makes a lovely companion to Jupiter Jet.
It does. They feel like they're cut up from the same cloth. And also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jawiin, Jawiin. Follow Ashley on Twitter and Instagram at Ashley V. Robinson. And don't forget to come over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Jawiin, where you can listen to an extra podcast, more Geek History Lesson content, Geek History Lesson Extra. This week's episode is going to be about the chronology of the MCU and all the problems with it, and solutions and theories and A.I.M agents. It's going to be crazy
Lots
times.
Lots of A.I.M agents.
Head on over there. Check that out if you want more Geek History Lesson content. And now we're here to hashtag stick around, the final part of the podcast where we make sure you stuck through the plugs. Ashley, what's the discussion here?
So for stick around, I want to ask you, we know that Red Guardian and Taskmaster are also appearing in the Black Widow movie.
That is correct. I have seen the Red Guardian action figure already in stores.
Yes.
It's been there for a while.
Well,
when
to
they
be
thought the movie was
fair,
coming out last year.
Yelena action figures are also there.
Yeah, we've seen her too.
She don't look a thing like Florence Pugh, but it's a good-looking action figure.
The suit's kind of cool.
Yeah, the suit is kind of cool.
I don't remember who the Build-A-Figure is. Oh, hold on a second. We're talking about toys. Hold on, we're missing out. Action figure corner.
The action figure spotlight.
Oh, damn it.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Action figure spotlight. All right. So we're talking about action figures, right?
Sure.
Now, what are we talking about?
What's your favorite Black Widow action figure? Do we have a Black Widow action figure?
No. I don't like Black Widow. I never have.
And that's an important lesson.
She's a bad guy to me.
That's an important lesson, listeners, is that you can actually talk about characters respectfully that you don't have a personal interest in.
I've always seen her as a villain. She's a weird hero to me.
I agree. I think I said this on our Natasha episode, is I don't think... And I'll say this about Yelena, and I hope that Widowmakers proves me wrong, and I hope the movie proves me wrong. I just don't think there's enough there to carry a book. Which is, look, it's not me saying that spy and espionage is not enough, because, I love a spy book.
Yeah, you love Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Jean Le Carré, R.I.P.
Oh, man, yeah.
We love James Bond, There's good stuff. Jason loves Parker. That book is
love
mean.
Parker. John Le Carré corner.
Le Carré. C'est français, monsieur.
John Le Carré corner.
There you go. Yeah, let's talk about Smiley's people. That's what I really came to this podcast to chat about. And who's at the top of the circus?
Well, you were asking you something about Red Guardian and Taskmaster.
Yeah. Jason, I don't think this is outing or anything. Jason doesn't want to do a Geek History lesson on Red Guardian or Taskmaster.
No.
There's probably not enough content to fill a full hour.
I would consider doing one on Taskmaster. I do not think we can do one on Red Guardian. I just don't think there's enough.
So that was going to be my question. I was going to be like, if you had to pick one.
Taskmaster.
Who do you think there's 100%. More to?
100%.
Yeah.
I actually think Taskmaster, I'll tell you this. Again, having not seen the movie yet.
Yeah.
I actually think Taskmaster is one of the coolest Marvel characters that not a lot of people know, that is perfect to elevate to like A-list villain status. Because Taskmaster, you don't want to know the thing that's kept Taskmaster down?
Sure.
Taskmaster is Marvel's Deathstroke.
Oh, yeah. It's that besides, I mean, so is also Deadpool.
But the reason why he's not more well known is because his costume is a skull face and pirate boots. Which looks dopey.
I will say, and the pictures are out there, and you can see the Taskmaster in the movie
looks cool.
Looks dope.
Looks cool.
And that's the cool thing about adaptation is you can take a silly costume.
Yeah.
Because even Slade in the comic books has pirate boots.
Yes.
And you can really like elevate it and give it a modern sensibility.
Yeah, so I that's the exciting thing about the movies. I think the movie could really elevate Taskmaster to like, because I've always liked Taskmaster.
Sure.
And like, to be honest with you, I think that this could make him a awesome villain or like make more people appreciate him. I would consider Taskmaster. Taskmaster, again, would be a hard lesson to do, kind of like this one.
Villains are always hard to do.
Yeah.
Because, yes, like Yelena, who is arguably a villain or certainly an anti-hero, I think calling her a hero is probably a stretch, at least in the comic book continuity. When they're only kind of popping up here and there, it is hard to string the continuity together.
Yep.
A little bit. So, well, there you go. That's it.
Cool. That it?
That's it.
Well, thank you all for listening to Geek History Lesson. I am Jason Lingerie Attic Inman.
I am Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And Professor Ashley, will you please close out the show?
The class is now dismissed.
I just want to make aware to everybody that we are pro dismissing the class.
Pro bad Russian accents?
And if you are, oh yes, we are also pro bad Russian accents. And if you
also good ones. Good ones are delightful.
If you have a bad Russian accent, email us at geekhistorylesson@gmail.com.
If you know how to say thank you in Russian, email me.
Oh, please do that.
I'm not going to Google it.
We should do a press release about that.